The birth of the United States Constitution, a story of struggle and triumph. A nation in turmoil. In the summer of 1786, the newly independent United States found itself in chaos. The Articles of Confederation, hastily written during the Revolutionary War, had proven weak and ineffective. The national government had no power to levy taxes, regulate commerce, or enforce laws. States quarreled over borders, imposed tariffs on one another, and even printed their own money. The young republic teetered on the edge of collapse. Economic hardship swept across the country. Soldiers who had fought in the Revolution returned home to find their farms in ruin, their debts mounting, and their government seemingly indifferent to their suffering. Merchants faced declining trade, and inflation soared as states printed their own currencies without regulation. In Massachusetts, tensions boiled over as a group of frustrated farmers led by Daniel Shays took up arms, protesting high taxes and economic oppression. Shays Rebellion sent shockwaves throughout the nation. If a handful of angry farmers could challenge the government, what chance did the country have against foreign threats? It became clear to many leaders that something had to change. The Constitutional Convention, determined to save the Republic. Leaders from across the 13 states convened in Philadelphia in May 1787. Among them were George Washington, James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, and Alexander Hamilton, men of vision, experience, and ambition. Washington, revered for his leadership in the Revolutionary War, was unanimously chosen as the president of the convention. From the very beginning, the task was daunting. Some delegates, like Madison, wanted a strong central government, while others, like Patrick Henry, feared tyranny. The debates were fierce and often personal. The Virginia Plan, drafted by Madison, proposed a government with three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. It also suggested representation based on population, favoring large states, the smaller states fearing domination, countered with the New Jersey Plan, which advocated equal representation for all states. Disagreements were not only about representation, but also about the very structure of the government. Some delegates believed the executive should be a single leader, while others feared this would create another monarchy. The question of how to elect this leader also caused division. Should Congress elect the president? Or should the people vote directly? These and many other questions consumed months of heated debate. The Great Compromise. Tensions ran high as the convention nearly fell apart. Then came the Great Compromise, proposed by Roger Sherman of Connecticut. His plan combined elements of both proposals: a bicameral legislature with the House of Representatives based on population and the Senate granting equal representation to each state. It was a masterstroke of diplomacy, ensuring that both large and small states had a voice in the new government. But the debates did not end there. One of the most contentious issues was slavery. Southern states, whose economies depended on enslaved labor, wanted slaves to be counted in population tallies, thus increasing their representation. Northern states, where slavery was less prevalent, opposed this. The result was the 3/5 Compromise, which counted every 5 enslaved people as 3 individuals for representation and taxation purposes. It was an uneasy truce that foreshadowed deeper conflicts to come. Additionally, there were concerns about individual rights. Some delegates feared that a strong federal government might override state sovereignty and infringe upon personal freedoms. While the Constitution set broad guidelines, many believed a Bill of Rights was necessary to explicitly protect individual liberties. This issue would later become central in the ratification debates. The fight for ratification. By September 17, 1787, the final draft of the Constitution was completed. But the battle was far from over. the new document needed to be ratified by at least 9 of the 13 states. Federalists, led by Madison, Hamilton, and John Jay, launched a campaign to persuade the public. They wrote a series of essays known as the Federalist Papers, arguing that the Constitution provided the necessary balance between liberty and order. Anti-Federalists, however, were not convinced. They feared that a strong federal government would trample individual rights and demanded a Bill of Rights to protect citizens from potential tyranny. They pointed to the lack of explicit protections for free speech, religious freedom, and due process as reasons to reject the Constitution. After intense debates and compromises, the Constitution was ratified in 1788, with the promise that a Bill of Rights would be added. A new era begins. On March 4, 1789, the new government under the Constitution was officially inaugurated. George Washington was unanimously elected as the first President of the United States, taking the oath of office in New York City. His presidency would set critical precedents, including the establishment of a cabinet and a 2-term limit tradition. Soon after, James Madison drafted the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, ensuring freedoms such as speech, religion, and due process. These amendments addressed many of the concerns raised by the Anti-Federalists and helped unify the young nation under its new government. The creation of the Constitution was an extraordinary achievement, forged through conflict, compromise, and vision. More than 2 centuries later, it remains the supreme law of the land, a testament to the resilience of the American experiment. The story of its birth is not just history, it is a reminder that democracy is always a work in progress, shaped by those willing to fight for it. The Constitution's enduring legacy. The adoption of the Constitution laid the foundation for a government that could adapt and endure. Over the years, it has been amended and interpreted in ways the framers could never have imagined. The Civil War tested its limits, as the Union fought to preserve the ideals enshrined in the document. The Reconstruction Amendments abolished slavery and extended equal rights to all citizens, furthering the promise of democracy. The 20th century saw even more changes. Women gained the right to vote with the 19th Amendment. Civil rights movements challenged injustices, and landmark Supreme Court decisions reshaped American society. The Constitution's ability to evolve through amendments and judicial review has ensured its continued relevance. Even today, debates rage over the balance of power between the federal and state governments, individual freedoms, and the role of the judiciary. Yet through all its trials, the Constitution remains a beacon of democracy, a living document that guides the United States through times of peace and conflict alike. Lessons from the Founding Fathers. The story of the Constitution is one of vision, compromise, and determination. The men who gathered in Philadelphia in 1787 were not perfect, nor did they always agree. But they shared a commitment to building a nation that could stand the test of time. Their struggles remind us that democracy requires vigilance, debate, and a willingness to compromise for the greater good. As we reflect on the Constitution's history, we are reminded that its strength lies not just in the words written on parchment, but in the people who uphold its principles. The responsibility to protect and interpret this founding document belongs to every generation. The Constitution in the modern age. As the 21st century unfolds, the Constitution continues to be tested by new challenges. Advances in technology raise questions about privacy and free speech. Social movements push for greater representation and equality under the law. Political divisions test the resilience of democratic institutions. Yet, through all these changes, the Constitution remains the guiding framework of the nation. Legal scholars, politicians, and citizens alike debate its meaning and implications in contemporary society. Some argue for strict adherence to the original text, while others advocate for a more flexible interpretation to meet modern realities. These discussions mirror the very debates held in Philadelphia centuries ago, a reminder that democracy is a living, evolving process. The future of the Constitution lies in the hands of those who cherish democracy, justice, and the ideals of a more perfect union. Its legacy is not just a relic of the past, but a beacon for the future, ensuring that the United States remains a nation governed by the rule of law and the principles of freedom.